We are live. But before we get started, we want to make sure all of our platforms are included for tonight's discussion. Let's give it a minute. I have all the. Looks like we have all green check marks. Welcome in, everyone, to another installment of the Orange and Blue View podcast. I am your host, Ron White. On that side of me, you know him, you love him, my co-host, Dylan Vaughn Arks. Mr. Dylan, how are you doing today on this nice championship for college football Saturday?
Doing great, man. I went and got a Christmas tree today. Watched some college football and a little bit of wrestling as well. So all in all, great day to kick back and be a little lazy, but always locked in to talk Broncos.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Same here. Very chill day for me. Um, Kind of doing some things around the house, nothing too crazy. We're in that time of year, so it's really chilly here in Georgia. So try not to go out unless I have to. But yeah, but a good day overall, and excited to be with all of you guys tonight. We're going to get into some news here and also breaking down some of the Broncos position group grades. So now that the Broncos are on their bye week, um, they can have some well needed rest, and we can kind of recap what we've seen so far from the season based on how these position groups have performed. But before we get into that, let's see who we have in the chat. We got Mr. David Youngkin coming in as always. Thank you, David. We always appreciate you, my guy. He says, "Evening, everyone. Have a great show tonight, everyone." Thank you, David, again for coming in. We appreciate it. And has anyone seen the running back from Arizona State named Cam Scatterbo? Yes, I did see him. I watched that game earlier, David. He's pretty good, and how he can just get off of tackles. Like he's very elusive and
Bowling
just
ball,
breaks
man.
tackles and just like a bowling ball, just rolling out of tackles and just sprinting downfield. He was very fun to watch today for sure. Um, Again, thank you, David, for coming in. And then we got Daniel Barry Sports Highlights. Yo to you as well, sir. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it. And then we got Mr. Mike S coming in with a what's up to Dylan, Ron, Scott, and Broncos Country. What's up with you, Mike? Hopefully you are doing well, my guy. Thank you as always for coming in. We appreciate it. And Mr. Rodney Garcia coming in. Thank you, Rodney. We appreciate you. He says, "Good evening, guys. Go Broncos. Take advantage of this bye week and get healthy." Yes. Yes, they definitely need to take advantage of this. It couldn't come at a better time, Dylan. Now that we're starting to see some folks here get nicked up. Um, but I think we could all say we are praying that Raleigh Moss is resting it up in this week because hopefully, fingers crossed, depending on what happens, he can go next Sunday against the Colts. But yeah, I think it's doing 13 straight games. It takes a toll on the body, and it's well needed, much needed rest for the team.
Definitely, and like you mentioned, Riley Moss is desperately, desperately needed after that performance by Levi Wallace against the Browns. Oh my God, I don't know how you don't make a change earlier. Obviously, Chris Abrams drained one in there. He's a rookie, but I was happy to have anything but Levi Wallace. Whenever I saw 39 lined up against Judy, I was screaming at the TV, as I'm sure most of you were.
Yeah, it was bad, and just like on more so on the coaching. I think for me,
Mhm.
yeah, we knew that obviously Levi Wallace is no Riley Moss, but but we thought that we would have at least gotten some veteran play, right? Like he out there looking like he had some experience. But to not slide help over, you know, at some of the crucial times, um, and not doing that early, kind of seeing
Hmm.
that unfold and kind of late in the game trying to make some adjustments. You put in there Chris Abrams drain, who actually kind of held his own. He actually
Yeah.
came in and did pretty well. And my thoughts were that it couldn't get any worse anyway. So why don't you just go ahead and put
Yeah.
the rookie in to see what happened? But hopefully, I know Sean Payton. When he was saying after the game that they have to make some adjustments. That has to be the main one, especially if Moss can't go next Sunday. They have to try to make defensive adjustments because this Colts team is on the receiver side. It's pretty good. Michael Pittman Jr. and I know Josh Downs has been a little nicked up, but I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. Pierce, so they have some weapons there, and you need as much strength there as you can in that secondary.
Yeah, and I even noticed too when they put Abrams drain in, they're like, okay, now we'll start giving him a little help on that side. And it's
Yep.
like, man, that was rough. And even offensively, there was times where it's like, hey, you're up 6 points, and you come out and take a shot after your run game is like, oh, we're actually getting dialed in, we're getting the ball moving, and you decide to take a deep shot, and then you know it's just a terrible interception to throw. And I know that was the play call, but it's I think Sean's ego gets in the way a little bit, just a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, it does. It does. But hopefully they'll work through all of those. And then he'd mentioned that second interception that Knicks had, it was on him. It was on Sean. And so it looks like obviously they're working well together, Knicks and Peyton. But that Peyton has to your point, kind of look and see what's the best play. And sometimes the deep shot may not be there because Cleveland, you know, um, Denzel Ward is pretty good, as we saw, and so, but luckily it didn't come back to hurt them in the end. But um, let's look forward here. Let's see who else we have here, and we got Rodney Garcia. Yes, Drain did look. Abrams Drain did look really good. He did look really good. So again, if Moss can't go, hopefully they start to play him more. And then definitely he'll hold his own. I do believe. I do believe. All righty, let's see who else we have. We got Mr. Eric Flynn coming in with Facebook stars. Thank you, Eric. We appreciate you, my guy. And if you got a question, please go ahead and pop it in the chat. We greatly appreciate it. And then we got Mr. Ernie Mays coming in from Facebook as well. Thank you, Ernie. It's good to see you, my guy. He says, "Go Broncos country only. Go Bo Knicks for 6." Yes, yeah, especially that 6 he was able to put on the board with that beautiful pass to Marvin Mims. That was a thing of beauty there, Dylan. At first I was like, I don't know, because what the safety's coming over, because it looked like it was like a cover 2 look, and you're like, but once Mims was able to hold it on to the house, so it was a thing of beauty. Thank you, Ernie, again for coming in.
Yeah, thanks as always, Ernie. It's nice to see Mims finally getting more touches, and even having Sean Payton say like, "Hey, we've kind of been misusing him," and he's like, "That's on me," and he took ownership of that, and that's good to see from your head coach, obviously, but it's just adding that dimension of speed to this offense. Obviously, you also have Troy Franklin, which that Bo Nix to Troy deep connection is going to happen here at some point. I just know it. Maybe we just have to stay away from talking about that, and maybe it'll finally happen, because I feel like we try and speak into existence every week, and it's just kind of just a little off there. So close.
Yeah, man, these Broncos are definitely taking off, and the league is on notice. No more of your Denver Broncos being the underdog in a lot of these games. And speaking of underdog, guys, Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. Join over 5 million fans who are already playing on Underdog. With their pick'em game, you can win money by making entries with your favorite players. Compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on two or more players' stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog.
With their champs game, you could win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like passing yards, interceptions, touchdowns, and much more. Like, for example, will Bo Nix have higher or lower than 220 passing yards next week? Will Nix have higher or lower than 1.5 passing touchdowns? Every dog deserves a second chance, and with Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose.
So download the Underdog app today and use code MHuddle to get up to 1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, download the Underdog app today and use our code MHuddle to get up to 1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Every player, every touchdown. Just select higher or lower on Underdog.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
All righty, let's see. Got some good questions here in the chat. Got Phil McLaughlin coming in from Facebook. Thank you, Phil, as always, for chiming in, my man. He says, "Good evening, Ron and Dylan. What is the order in the draft for these positions? Running back, offensive line, defensive line, tight end, wide receiver. Hashtag welcome, hashtag MHH for life, hashtag Broncos for life." So, Phil, we're going to answer that, but let's get into, and I'll pass this on to Dylan first, to some of the position group grades, and I think that'll help um, kind of shed some light on our line of thinking when it comes to this question, because this is a very good question. So, Dylan, I'll let you go first as far as your first position group that you wanna put a grade to here.
Yeah, so if we're just picking out of the ones here that Phil mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
you see O line. Obviously, we're pretty set there. It depends on what we do with bowls, but
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately we're looking at the skill positions here, whether it's running back, tight end, wide receiver, and I lean. If we're going with what the worst out of those three is, easily tight end. I think that's the worst position group by far on offense, and I give that group a D minus. And honestly, that feels charitable. This group has been just awful, and Troutman. I feel like I repeat myself every week. Pedestrian. That's the best word to describe this tight end room. At some point, maybe we'll see a Parham call up because I'm just ready for anything different. Like, just it's insane. You got Nate Atkins. He's kind of a cool toolsy kind of guy, but he's not someone you want out there all the time either. And it's a disappointing room. That's the gist of it.
Yeah, I'm with you as far as the tight end being my priority. Um, just because the Broncos need someone dynamic, a playmaker on offense. And again, a running back can do that as well. But I just feel as though the tight end position in Denver, Dylan, we haven't really had a solid elite tight end in a long time. And so now that you have the quarterback in place, you need to get him some skills, some skill makers. And again, running back is running back is one of those that can do that. but then you want someone that is kind of like a joker, that is a Swiss Army knife that can line up, in the Y, the X, the Z, that can block. Um, and that's what's been missing. So I would say tight end. I give that you're actually a little bit as far as your grade. I'm a little bit nicer. I give it a C minus. Um, because it hasn't been like terrible, but I just feel as though the usage of it, and then the depth. I mean, outside of Troutman, Kroll, and Atkins, who do you have? And then it's to your point. I've been pining for a Parham, sighting at some point. So that is one of the positions here, Phil. I think Dylan and I both agree on that we would prioritize first. After that, for me, Dylan would be running back. Um, Now I know, fans, and I know some people here in the chat are asking about Bidet, Tyler Bidet, and I know he's been on the sideline with them at practice. And I think he's slowly trying to work his way back into it. Don't be surprised, Dylan. They might shelve him until playoff time. That might be kind of the Broncos' secret weapon in the running game, because the Broncos going to need that running game to do something in the playoffs. And don't get me wrong, Jaleel McLaughlin was good to see on Monday night. He was kind of the hot hand, and you want to see more Estime. I mean, hell, Sean Payton was saying that he wants to put Estime more out there. So you kind of want to see those two hold down the fort for a little while, and until maybe if you get a day back. But I think a dynamic running back that can do a lot of different things is missing. So don't be surprised, maybe if Genty falls. I know that's the apple of everyone's eye in the running back group. But there are a lot of other ones as well. Dylan, Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina, Trayvon Henderson, and Kushan Junkins out of Ohio State. So they're quite a few. This running back class is very deep. So I would say that would be the next position that they should target. And right now, for my grade for running backs, I give that a C. I just feel as though, I think that Javante, when he's out in the field, he brings that grade down, just because we're not seeing the Javante of old. We're seeing an old Javante that you can tell is not really kind of bounced back from that knee injury and just doesn't have the vision.
Yeah, and I actually today I wrote up a piece explaining why Audric should be getting more touches. It's it's maddening because, like you just mentioned, Javante's knee injury that's sapped just all his explosiveness. Not all, but you guys get what I'm saying. He's nowhere near where he was his rookie year, and I mean, understandable. You tear 3 ligaments in your knee; it's kind of hard to come back from that unless you're J.K. Dobbins. He looks like he's doing pretty good, so maybe he just Williams needs to change the scenery. But you have this young back who mirrors Javante in a lot of ways in terms of his hard nosed downhill running, but he's got better vision. That's another thing with Javante. His vision's terrible. Like obviously the blocking's not great 100% of the time, but this is a very good offensive line, like top 5,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even top 3 in the league. And he's just not hitting the holes. He's running into the back of his line, and that was a problem even when he was doing really well in his rookie season. And then you have Jaleel, who I really like. I don't think he could be a lead back, but he's a good second guy to have. And I just think giving Estime more carries is the way to go. He's young. He's got. I, I I just don't know why we haven't seen more of him because, as you guys all remember, that Kansas City game in that second half, he was kind of sparking the offense. He was getting us moving along, and it was like, hey, maybe now we're going to see him. And then next game, he gets like no carries, and Javante's still getting the bulk when he's a glorified. He's Samaje Perine. Like he's you're gonna bring him on third down. He's gonna pass block. He's gonna maybe catch a pass or two here, but as your lead back, I can't wrap my brain around it. And just like you mentioned, I think this room is probably at a C, and that's because Javante brings that grade down. Like, let's get the young buck in there, let's get Estime in there, and see what you have, because playoff teams have viable running games, and if you don't have a viable running game, you're going to be behind the eight ball, and you can't do that with a rookie quarterback as good as Bo's been this season.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, yeah, and then going down Phil's list here, I kind of want to spend a little minute here because Phil brings up some good groups and questions that really ties it into our topic here. The next group for me um, would be wide receiver. I think, and again, I'm not even saying Dylan. I don't think wide receiver is as pressing. I mean, because I've liked what I've seen from Devon Vele. I've liked what I've seen from Marvin Mims, and the fact that Sean Payton's changing up how he's using Marvin Mims. I think that's kind of part of the reason this offense looks a little different. Um, and then Troy Franklin is coming into his own. And you mentioned earlier, if it would be nice for them to connect on a few of those deep passes, but once that gets going, look out. But I think if they can kind of keep everything at the line of scrimmage, Franklin's been very involved in the middle of the field and with some of those short, quick passes outside. Um, so if you can kind of maybe keep him going with that, and then I think the deep passes will come. But yeah, I mean, I would say to get someone though that is kind of like an all around receiver, like Cortland Sutton's good. I mean, we all know what Cortland Sutton represents to this team, but just kind of having someone that can line up in the slot and you can use in the end arounds and do deep. And again, you do have a Marvin Mims and those that can do that, but really someone that can get separation, someone that is kind of like a route runner extraordinaire, where they can just at the release at the line of scrimmage just get open. And I still think that's somewhat missing. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy was your guy to do that.
Hmm.
And you saw what he did Monday night. I think it was like 200 and something yards he had on us. So yeah, it was good. But yeah, I would say wide receiver would be something in the draft. Again, if you don't look at free agency, because there are folks out there with Chris Godwin and T. Higgins that maybe can do that for you. And as far as the wide receiver grade for me, I mean, I give it a B plus here, Dylan. I think, I mean, I like what I'm seeing. The fact that, and I think I'm putting that obviously Sutton elevates that grade, but the fact that how he's using Marvin Mims is really changing the complexion of this offense.
You're right, 100%. And it, just how much faith, or how much more faith that Sean Payton even has in his receiver group, they just let Josh Reynolds go. So you're already seeing, like, he's okay. I have a little more trust in him. You mentioned Cortland Sutton. Obviously, he's. It seems he starts the season's kind of not too hot, and as we get towards the end here, he's absolutely killing it. And it's like, oh yeah, like, this is why we didn't trade him. Or he makes those clutch catches. And I mentioned in the offseason, I'm not sure Cortland is the best receiver for Bo Nix. He's not really a throws to jump ball guys very much, at least at Oregon. A lot of guys get open, but college game different, obviously. But Vele has been a revelation. He's been amazing, catches everything thrown his way. And like you mentioned, Mims, he's finally coming along and getting utilized to that second round pick status. So
Yeah.
it's really good to see that. And yeah, it's not a position I would look to go in the first round unless you absolutely love a guy. First, like we said before, I think tight ends definitely. And if we're looking at pass catchers, tight end, it has to be prioritized there. But this receiving core is solid. You can build off this. And Troy Franklin, he was always going to take a year. He kind of got thrust in because of injuries, but it's not all been bad, just inconsistent. And we kind of knew that already, but the confidence is there with Sean Payton. So I'm pretty happy about this group overall, and I too gave it a B because I want to just I was gonna go B plus, but I want to see just a little more. And I think
Hmm.
these last couple games, I think we are gonna see him get more creative.
Yes, yes, for sure. All righty. Let's see who else we have. And Phil, we'll get into like the offensive line and defensive line. We'll get to those grades here shortly. And but let's see who else we have. We got Mr. Lawrence Rivera coming in with a super chat. Thank you, Lawrence. Good to see you, my guy. He says, "Oh man, Dylan, do I owe you your signed dollar?"
Well, Lawrence, thank you for coming and chatting. I'm gonna be completely honest. I cannot remember what it's for, but I will gladly take your money. If you're, yeah, I'm sure you're still in here, and if you are, just give me a quick refresher there, because I believe this was probably something at the start of the season, and so many moving parts, obviously, and we're writing content, doing podcasts, doing all this other stuff. So please remind me. I would love to take $1 from you.
And he says he's gonna be special and send you an old dollar coin.
Hey, I like those too, man.
Whatever works, whatever works. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And to our point on tight ends, Rodney brings up the one that I want the Broncos to target, and you might actually be seeing him play at this very moment. Uh, so yeah, this guy is fun to watch. And when I first saw him, Dylan, I was like, I don't know how I feel. He doesn't seem that he is a game changer, but man, now obviously he's no Brock Bowers, but he's way better than anything that the Broncos could imagine. And to have him in this offense, like what he does at Penn State, it's just how they move him all over the place and how he blocks. Now, the blocking can be a bit better. He can improve, but I mean, I think it's still good enough for what the Broncos need. But yeah, Rodney, absolutely a dog. This guy right here.
Yeah, and obviously the Sean Payton offense needs its next Jimmy Graham. Hope maybe we won't find someone on that level, but I think this is a good start, man. I do really like Tyler Warren. I think Sean Payton can get really creative with him, and this offense has been missing that tight end threat, and we thought we had it with Dulcich. He couldn't quite put it all together, whether it was injuries and then the drops when he was healthy. So let's throw anything we can at that tight end position. Like we mentioned earlier, like we're not necessarily thinking Parham's going to be this amazing, like this. Oh, this revelation! Oh, he's going to be awesome. But we just want to see something different.
Yeah.
So, adding a guy like Tyler Warren at a Penn State to this offense, I think, would be immaculate.
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. Thank you, Rodney. And then just another question here. Hey, Ron and Dylan, who are you guys rooting for tomorrow's game? Chargers or Chiefs? Neither. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're right.
Well, really,
I...
that actually is the truth. I don't want either to win, but
yeah.
if I have to have a rooting interest, Rodney, it would be the Chiefs. Um, just because, at this point, Dylan, for all intents and purposes, the Broncos aren't going to win a division. And you would like to see a Chargers loss to improve seeding within the playoff picture. So as it stands right now, I believe the Chargers are the fifth seed at 8-4. The Ravens are the sixth seed at 8-5. And then the Broncos are the seventh seed with 8-5 as well. Obviously, both of those teams have the tiebreaker against the Broncos. So if you wanna have a rooting interest, it would be the Chargers. And if they start to crumble, the Chargers start to crumble, and or if the Ravens start to crumble, because both of their schedules, these remaining 4 games, are not easy. Then the Broncos can maybe vie for that fifth seed.
Yeah, you made it no secret. We're not really rooting for any of these either of these teams to win division rivals. You hope for I don't even know, man. It's just it's infuriating to kind of have to be like, oh well, it's like lesser of two evils, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird to say that about the Chiefs because they are the evil in the NFL. Obviously,
Mhm.
it would benefit the Broncos for them to win there, and then uh, in a couple weeks we play against the Chargers on Thursday night, so you have that chance to leapfrog them to take second place in the division. Which I would have called you crazy if you told me we get to second place in the division. And but yeah, it's unfortunately got to be the Chiefs here.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Rodney, for coming in. All right, Dylan. So let's get to some more position group grades. I'm gonna go with offensive line. I'm gonna give it an A. I'm gonna give this group an A. Um, and I know their top three. Again, I don't know pass versus run. I'm not sure what the specific rankings are. I know one is ranked first, and then one is ranked third as far as the pass pro and the run blocking. So they're top. They're top of the league, and you see it every game, Dylan. Now, you wish they wouldn't have some of those snafus when it comes to false starts, some of the holdings from Garrett Bowles, right? So you can do without those. But I feel as though overall, as a unit, this team or this group has very much helped Bo. Now, Bo has helped them too with getting rid of the football quickly, moving and stepping inside the pocket. Um, but I would definitely give this unit as a whole an A. Now the depth still concerns me a bit. Um, Hurt, Palczewski, Quinn Bailey, so obviously I like Palczewski. Um, but yeah, the depth is a little bit concerning, but I would say that the starting unit definitely deserves an A after their performance so far this year.
You know, Ron, I love him so much. I gave him an A plus.
You going
You know,
plus?
it's
Okay.
obviously quarterback play was a big thing
Hmm.
last year or last couple of years with Russell Wilson holds the ball too much or scrambles into a sack, and you've all heard it before. Bo Nix has been just so much better, and obviously Bo has had his troubles under pressure, but for the most part, he gets the ball out quick, or um, he's not a detriment to the offensive line as much as Russell Wilson was, which I think anyone else would have been an improvement. But Bo has been a big improvement for that line, and just with how well they've been pass blocking and run blocking, which run blocking especially, this is why I don't put it on them with how lackluster the run game has been, just because I just don't think we have the guys in the backfield there. So
Right.
it's it's just awesome, man. It's nice to have a top five, top three unit because you ask any NFL fan base who doesn't like their offensive, oh, we have the worst one, we have the worst one, because offensive line plays so volatile, and to have two really solid tackles, I know McGlinchey gets a lot of flack, and sometimes Bowles as well. He still holds here and there, but overall, this is an amazing unit, and
Hmm.
God, I hope they can get Bowles an extension somehow because
I was
I need the continuity for this line.
And I was just going to bring that up. And to the question that Phil asked, it's, it really depends on if they extend bowls or not. Because, if that extension doesn't happen, then offensive line, that tackle definitely goes way up to the top of the list as far as they need. So yeah, you hope that the Broncos can um, get an extension done with Bowles because you don't want to mess up the continuity. I mean, it's been very good, and Bowles has been very complimentary of the line and of his quarterback, and just to see Bowles happy, Dylan. He seems as though now he has a nice shiny toy, a nice, good, solid quarterback he wants to protect, and the Broncos are winning. Now it would just be good if the Broncos can kind of do him that good service and just pay him. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All righty. Let's go back to the chat here and see who we have coming in. Oh, got Rodney Garcia. Thank you again, my guy. He says, who would you guys want as a backup quarterback for next season? Wilson or Stidham? I'll let you take this one first, Dylan.
Man, personally, I kind of like keeping Zach Wilson around maybe another season. Stidham's he's boring. I'm sorry. if if you're on your backup quarterback, you're already kind of screwed a little bit, obviously. So I think Zach Wilson, he's got a better arm, and he's going to be coached much better than he was with the New York Jets. That franchise is a dumpster fire. You're seeing it year after year, and especially this year is pretty rough. But yeah, I think I'll definitely take Zach Wilson. He's got a cannon of an arm on him. He's mobile. I feel like he fits closer to what Bo Nix's skill set is. So if you do, if something does happen, he can come in and maybe not be the same level, but very similar in play style. You don't have to mix up the playbook too much.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I would want Wilson back. Um, just because Stidham doesn't really move the needle for me. He's just very ordinary, kind of boring. I mean, I think you have Stidham in there obviously as a kind of as a safe option. In the event Bo wasn't ready, but you're seeing now that Bo's taken off, and that last preseason game, Zach Wilson was actually playing very well. Um, and so you like, I would say, Dylan, the coaching, because he's already been coached quite nicely from Peyton. I think that can continue, and you'd be okay with him being the backup. Um, Now again, you still would want to get some of that erratic play out of him. I don't know if it's all going to go away because I know that's kind of his style, but I'm okay, at least from what I've seen in the preseason, to keep around. Um, because you're right, he's very similar to Bo Nix in a way. That big playability is there, and I think it'll definitely be good for the team and for him as well. But yeah,
One last thing on that too, actually.
mm-hmm.
You coach him up and he continues to look good. You could flip him for some draft picks. That's another big thing. So teams are always looking for quarterbacks.
Yes, definitely. That quarterback position for sure, for sure. All right, let's see who else we have. And again, Rodney, thank you for coming in the chat. Give me a second. I see folks here talking about their draft wishes. So I see Luther Bird. Yep, he's good. T Mac from Arizona, he's good as well. I don't think they're going to be in the Broncos reach, guys. Obviously they have to trade up, but those are some great options.
The burden of making the playoffs.
Yeah. Devin Neal is good. So most definitely. People are talking about Godwin over Higgins. Again, it could happen. Again, but both of those are some very good options. I don't think Baltimore is going to trade Likely. I did see one in there talking about get Likely from Isaiah Likely from the Ravens. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if anybody, it might be a Mark Andrews, maybe. But Likely is there for them for sure to stay. All righty, let's see who else we have. Got Crumble Cookies coming in, and we'll get to the defense here shortly, guys. Thank you, Crumble. Nick Bonito deserves Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, if he sticks to this pace, he's definitely in the running. He's definitely going to be up for consideration. I mean, he's at is it 11 sacks now? It's right behind Hendrickson. And so, yeah, I mean, the guy is just awesome, man. Like you saw him on Monday night. and how he was just attacking. And that pick six, that was just that was it. That was the play of the game. That and obviously Jaquan's pick six was nice too. But man, how he was able to just he had his eyes on Jameis the whole time and just took it to the house. It was just so good to see. So yeah, Crumble, I'm right there with you. If he continues to play like this, adding on more sacks and maybe be lined up in coverage to get another pick six or to pick the ball off, depending on how Vance Joseph uses him. Um, you can definitely hear his name being in the running for that award because he's definitely playing like it for sure, for sure.
Oh yeah, man, he's been the best edge rusher since we had Chubb and Von Miller in town, and he looked like a freaking safety on that pick six, man. He's like, cover one guy, okay, we're gonna drop off, and then he just ran it all the way back 70 yards. He looked quick. I mean,
Yep.
dude is insane. Obviously, quick bending off the edge, and he's all around. Like obviously, his run defense isn't perfect. No one's gonna expect it to be, honestly, but it's improved
Improved.
quite a bit. Now, deserves defensive player of the year. If there's anyone who deserves it on the Broncos, it's Patrick Surtain. I think he's a corner. People don't throw his way a lot. He's not going to get as many interceptions. Obviously, he had a pick six. But that's just kind of the nature of it. We haven't seen a corner win the award since Gilmore in like 2016, 2017. It's kind of just a sack record kind of thing at this point, which is unfortunate. It's kind of like with MVP, it's quarterback award.
Yeah.
I know Saquon's creeping up there, but it's pretty much a quarterback award. But Nick Bonito definitely deserves to be in the conversation. That's 100% true. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned that MVP. It's all quarterback, and I think for me this year, it's probably going to be Josh Allen. Um, I know Lamar kind of started the year in that conversation, and not to say he's out of it, but I think from what we see now and just how Josh Allen is playing football at this very moment, he deserves the award. But yeah, Surtain, yeah, on this team, if he were to have a defensive player of the year on this, oh yeah, definitely for sure Patrick Surtain. I mean, the reigning defensive player of the month in the AFC, only allowing total 55 yards. Think about that, Dylan. Think about that. 55 yards allowed. That's just insane. So, just man, he's just such a special player. And I watched him when he was at Alabama. Um, but just to see what he's doing in the NFL, I don't know if there's really much offenses can do. I mean, because you have him shutting down one side of the field. Essentially, he's just shutting down one side of the field. So yeah, I would say if it's anybody on this team that deserves it, for sure it would be PS2. But yeah, don't get me wrong, Crumble. Benito's definitely in that conversation. And speaking of defense, Dylan, let's start with the edge. So how do you grade the edge position? And I'm going to do this, obviously interior defensive line next, and then let's start with the edge here first. What do you see? How do you see that being graded as of right now?
Yeah, so the edge position, obviously, we just talked up Nick Bonito big time. He's been absolutely amazing this season. Then you have Jonathan Cooper, who just got paid. He's been really solid. Obviously, he's not the sec numbers aren't like astronomical, but that's not really his game. He's there to get pressures. He's good. He's solid in the run game, and overall, that's why he got paid. He's been a very solid player overall, especially being a 7th-round pick out of Ohio State. So love that. And then you're seeing Jonah Ellis. He's getting his opportunities. He's doing pretty well with them. He's got what, four sacks just about.
I think you're about, yeah.
And then DeAndre Tillman, he's been insane. Like obviously someone who's in terms of the expectations for him, he's played amazing. I graded this group out as an A. I think they've done very well, and once we get some other guys stepping up and being a little more consistent, obviously you got a good rotation there, and I think it's really good going forward.
Yeah, I gave this an A plus. Because of the person we were just talking about, Nick Benito. Um, yeah, you would like to see more, a little bit more from Jonathan Cooper. I feel as though Jonathan Cooper's play, even at the start in the season and near the end of last year, really picked up, and that's what made him deserving of that contract. Um, but I think a lot of people were still on the edge. They were a little uncertain with Benito, even going into the season. And for him to come in here and have 11 sacks and to now have a pick six and to what you said earlier, improve on the run defense. Because I know that was part of his bugaboo. Now that he's improved that aspect of his game, you can't be happier than you are as a Broncos fan right now. And with the rookies, Jonah Ellis has been a nice, rotational guy coming in and giving you, um, as you mentioned, 4 or 5 sacks. And DeAndre Tillman has been good too. So, I would say, the Nick Benito boost is kind of really, and the Jonah Ellis playing well is kind of really why I have my grade the way it is. Um, so it is good to see that. All righty.
And I just realized I just looked it up here real quick too. I didn't even realize Cooper has 8 sacks.
Eight.
Like
Okay.
that's a sneaky 8 sacks there,
Hmm.
man. It's a good duo for sure.
Yeah, because then I think he did get credited with that one on Monday, I believe. Because I
Okay,
don't know,
yeah.
it might have been a either was to Benito or was a half to Cooper. I think they credited him with one full one, I believe.
Hmm.
So, let's see who else we have. Um, got Phil coming back in with a from Facebook star. Thank you, Phil. He says, "Name your Pro Bowl picks." Sertan, Bonito. Yes, those would be the two for sure.
Easily.
Um, so let me just think about this here, Dylan. On offense, I'm going Cortland Sutton. Um, on the offensive line, I'm gonna go Miners. Um, defense, yep, Sertan, Benito, Zach Allen, John Franklin Myers.
Give it all to him, man.
Give it to the whole offensive line. Um, that I'm just thinking through it again. Those might be, yeah. I think those are the ones that I'm thinking of for sure that come to my mind. Um, so what was that, 4 or 5? So those would be mine. Those would be mine, Phil.
Oh yeah, that's a great list there. I'm gonna start and throw mine at Bo Nix. I think he's played pretty good. Obviously, when it comes to the Pro Bowl, it's more of a popularity contest. If we're being
Yeah.
real about it, I think Bo could potentially get in there. I know he was top 5 in rookie votes, so that was cool to see. You mentioned Cortland Sutton. I think Bowles and Miners could get him from the offensive
Oh yeah,
line.
Bulls.
Obviously, Bowles. Yeah, you mentioned he's got some holding calls here and there, but he's been amazing at a left tackle there. And then, I mean, you could name the whole defensive line pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
like,
Can.
um, maybe a dark horse. I don't know if he'll get as much love. He's been injured a little bit, but Brandon Jones has been really good for this team. Uh, and screw it, we'll throw Riley Moss in there as a dark horse. Maybe he's one of those alternates.
And
I
that's
have those. So
and that's where I was headed with, Bo Nix and Raleigh Moss because they were in my mind as well, but more of an alternate. I do think Bo Nix for sure. His play is worthy of a vote, and to get him to get in there. But I just think with the popularity contest and um, you know other quarterbacks in the AFC playing well, and with this whole offensive rookie of the year campaign, it looks like it's gonna go. I mean, Bo still has a chance, obviously, with the odds, but they're really trying to hype up Jaden Daniels. I just don't see it for Bo Nix. That's kind of where my head was, but I do think he is deserving um, for the voting and to be in there for sure. And yeah, Bowles is another one for sure. So yeah, thank you, Phil. Good question. Good question. All righty. Let's see. So interior defensive line, Dylan. What do you grade that group?
That's an A+ for me, man. I
Hmm.
mean, Zach Allen has been an absolute dog. You get Franklin Myers opposite him. DJ Jones has even looked good. Malcolm Roach. This is a deep defensive line, and it's just so nice to finally get some push up the middle, uh, and not to have Zach Allen freaking double and sometimes triple teams. You just can't do that with this Broncos squad, and uh, even Wazarika, I'm excited to see what he can do once he gets more back up to speed because he was a good pass rusher from the interior and he's a bigger guy. Just as a whole, this unit has been amazing, and that's part of the defensive success. Obviously, there's blitzing, there's a lot of blitzing on this team, but it's a matchup nightmare for any offensive line. I don't care who it is, um, but yeah, especially Zach Allen there, man. He's just God. We might need to get him an extension here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm with you on the grade. I give it an A+ as well. Um, you know, Malcolm Roach and Zach Allen. I'm sorry. Well, Malcolm Roach and John Franklin Myers. Just that push they're able to provide in that interior with Zach Allen kind of being the main force. I think that just changes this whole defensive line. Um, and we know part of the issue last year with the Broncos defense was stopping the run. Now with Malcolm Roach coming in, they're what I think they're still number 6 from a rushing defense perspective
I believe so.
currently. So that presence alone has helped. And then you have that force of John Franklin Myers just being a ball hawk about every play, allows for that one on one with Zach Allen to just come in and just cause a lot of disruption. So from where they were to what this group is now, and I would even say, Dylan, this has been the surprise group um, for the team. This group has really outkicked their coverage because I know Thomas Hall and I were like, oh, we don't know. I think we were kind of like still trying to see what this group how it would materialize, but they have definitely exceeded expectations, and for that, I give them an A+ for sure.
Yeah, and I don't blame you for being down on him bringing VJ back for a second year.
Yeah.
It's hard to have confidence there, but we're all happy that it's working out now.
Yes. Yes, for sure. For sure. All righty. Now going to inside linebacker. Uh, what's your grade on that one?
There's times where I'm really down on him. Those are times I'm like, this is crazy. How are we squeezing this talent out of these nobodies relative? Because obviously us being Broncos analysts and the fans here who watch them week to week and follow every move, it's like, yeah, we know these guys, but you ask anyone else who's Justin Sternad or Cody Barton, they're not going to have an answer for you. Um, I did give this group a C+. Cody Barton still has his struggles in pass coverage. There's times where you see him looking back towards the
Mm-hmm.
receiver that's already past him,
Mm-hmm.
and but Sternad has been amazing. I never would have thought when Singleton went down. I was like, oh great, this linebacking core is already terrible, and now you're down your best guy there. Sternad has been awesome, even in run defense. I know when he was drafted, he was more a pass coverage kind of guy, but he's been doing excellent in just shutting down holes in the run game. And it was crazy to think he was going to be a Carolina Panther, and then he flipped and came back to Denver, and I never would have guessed it would work out so well. But I'm just looking through here as well. You got Drew Sanders of Old Bailey, and I mean, no one knows who those guys are either, but they're doing the best that they can, and this is why the Broncos, they always seem to pass on inside linebacker in the draft, and and you see why. I mean, I would rather have a strong defensive line and have some no names at inside linebacker, and
Right.
it's working out amazing.
Yeah, um, I graded this a B minus. Um, and I mean, it's been a pretty good group. I wouldn't say great. Um, I think you're right on with Cody Barton. I know it's like he'll have these splash plays, and then other plays you're like, did you just whiff? Like, did you not see, the receiver behind you? Because I think it was that one touchdown. Might have been the second one that the Browns scored.
Probably
Um,
Njoku.
where yeah, I think it was Njoku, where he was right there. He could have, and yeah. So you have those plays from Cody Barton. Um, and then with Strenad, it's he does miss tackles at times, but he's I would say he's good, especially when he's out on the blitz. He's been pretty good as well. So it hasn't been the best um group, but like I said, I think they're serviceable. I'll put it that way. I think both of them are serviceable, and with Alex Singleton out this year, I mean that's really all you can ask. Um, and so yeah, the defensive line has just been dominant, and I think because of the dominance on the D line, um, I think you can live with what you have there at inside linebacker. Let's see here. Who there was another Phil question. Oh, here it goes. Thank you, Phil, again for coming in. He says, "Who's a surprise free agent we got this year?" I'll let you go first, Dylan.
Thank you, because I'm taking Brandon Jones, man. That guy was. I talked about it a lot in the offseason leading up through training camp. Brandon Jones was really really good in Miami, but it was as the third safety, and he had started about 20-ish games, so he had experience there, but he really shined as a third safety. So it's like, can he really step up into that role and be a leader on that defense and come in and make an impact? And he's turned the tide in multiple games with interceptions. He's been an absolute dog. It sucks to see him. I believe has a growing injury right now. So hopefully with the bye week gets that worked out. But dude has been an absolute baller in a secondary where we both had huge questions about safety. Obviously, PJ Locke coming over from last year, he looked solid, and but it's like who's next to him? Justin Simmons is gone, so Brandon Jones has been awesome for the secondary.
Yeah, he has been. He has been. He's looked good, for sure. I would say my pick will be Malcolm Roach. Um, just because, and again, I think it's more so for me, Dylan. I didn't really, I guess, watch the Saints too much, and I really wasn't too familiar with him. But now him coming in and just defending the run, like just being all around the ball, I would say that is definitely my surprise free agent because again, I knew it was going to get better, but I just knew it wasn't going to be like this. So him coming in and just stuffing it up, it's been good to see, for sure. That's a good question, Phil. It's a very good question. Alrighty, we are right at the hour here. So, uh, Dylan, let's run through safety and cornerback. So for me, I give the safeties. I give it a. I taught it between B and B plus on the safeties. I'll give it a B. I'm gonna stick with the B. To what you just mentioned, Brandon Jones has been nice, a great revelation. Um, PJ Locke has been good as well. Um, I think mine is more so because of the depth. Because some of my grades, a lot of my grades here,
Oh,
guys, do have depth included in this. Um, and you see what happened when PJ Locke is out, you know, or Brandon Jones is out. You're stuck with Devon Key, and it ain't good. It ain't good. So I would say a good showing from Brandon Jones. Obviously, we know we're going to get from Locke. But I just feel as though I think that safety room, as far from a depth perspective, needs to be shored up. And then corner and A, well, A plus. Actually, corner A
I was
plus. We
gonna
know what
say.
Chris Gann does. Riley Moss has been great. Jaquan McMillan, although I know Jaquan at times um, kind of had some struggles, and I know Troy Aikman make it seem as though he was struggling the whole season. I don't agree with that. But at times he has struggled. But yeah, I would say Monday night he was great. Um, and so yeah, definitely the cornerback group for me gets the A plus.
And I'm in total agreement there. The safety room, you mentioned the depth is not good. We want JL Skinner to be something. We want Devon Key to be something. Keidron Smith looked good there in preseason. But yeah, it's kind of a weak room in terms of depth. Obviously, the starters have been pretty good. We're already talked about it. Brandon Jones has been awesome. One of the better free agent signings. Definitely going to have to look through free agency in the draft for some safety help there. And yeah, A plus for the corners. You got PS2. You got Riley Moss. You got Jaquan McMillan. That trio, the Bermuda Triangle, if you will.
Yeah.
Nothing gets out of there, but they've just been awesome, man. And even just a little bit we saw from Abrams Drain. And Damari Mathis was even out there. It was crazy to
We're
see the
calling for everybody.
27th, and he
We're
made
calling for everybody.
one play there, and I was like, okay. So where safety's lacking in depth, corner is the opposite, and the starters on their own have been just lights out, amazing, and yeah, the depth is pretty good as well.
Yep. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. And then let's touch on these briefly, Dylan. Kicker, um, punter. I'll let you go as far as Will Lutz's year so far, and the punting group, the overall special teams unit. How do you have that group there shaking out?
Special teams in general, I think we'll we'll give it an A. I want to give it an A plus because I think Will Lutz has been amazing. Riley Dixon on a few of these punts has
Mm,
not been great, so I can't give him that perfect grade there. But overall, really good. And the one block kick, that's just on a freaking backup Forsyth. I'm not going to attribute that to Will Lutz. So
yeah,
yeah, great unit overall. A is a good grade there for them.
and I agree. Lutz has been money. Um, I agree with you on the punting. Raleigh Dixon is just ooh. Some of those
Sometimes
punts,
you
I'm
get some
like,
good ones, but
yeah, you get good ones
there's
at
like
times, but
he
other times you're
sprinkles
like,
in just a pretty bad one in there every once
yeah,
in a
you're
while.
like,
It's like
man, that wasn't good because you look at it, you're like, ooh, that's not gonna make it far there, Dixon. But yeah, I like what I see. I'm pleased with um the special teams unit this year for sure. All right, guys. So that concludes our episode for tonight. It was such a great time talking with each and every one of you about the Denver Broncos. We greatly appreciate it. If you haven't done so, everyone, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this podcast on all the platforms. We greatly appreciate it. And if you have not done so already, make sure you follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. I am at Ron White NFL, and my partner here is at Dylan Vaughn Arts MHH. We greatly appreciate it. Before we get out of here tonight, we have a few matters of business and we want to shout out people who helped to contribute to tonight. So I'll turn it over to Dylan.
Yeah, great conversation as always, folks. We love talking it up about the Broncos with you on Saturday night. We know it's, usually people are out. It's the weekend, but you choose to spend your time with us, and we greatly appreciate that. We're capping out at 100 viewers tonight, which is very nice to see. And I want to give a little extra love to some people who came in and showed a little bit of extra love for us tonight. We got Eric Flynn coming in, no comment. One of these days, we're going to get one out of you, dude.
Yes, got to.
One of these days. We got Phil McLaughlin coming in 3 separate times. Thank you, my man. Always good to see you in the chat. You're always showing us so much love, and it means a lot to us, definitely, with all these thought-provoking questions. And Lawrence Rivera, you're going to have to get back to me on this. I didn't see you come back in, so I'm going to keep hounding you about it, dude. But all jokes, of course. Love seeing all you guys coming in here, and another lovely Saturday night.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Again, everyone, thank you for tuning in and enjoy the bye week. Again, have some rooting interests for, I believe, the Chiefs. I mean, again, it's not really an interest that you're rooting for, but for seeding purposes. Also, rooting for the, I believe it's the Jets as well. Because I think the
Yeah.
Jets play the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a good rooting interest. But again, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you next week. Have a great rest of your weekend, and go Broncos.
Go Broncos.